Hello guys, I'm back from another video and today we're talking about what if Deku was in RWBY. So in the last week we talked about how after arriving at the party with his, with his team and also his date slash teammate now, as in, his, sort of like, newly created, not really created, but more like, you basically get girlfriend, aka Skyla Lark, aka, one of his teammates. And after arriving there and also, setting up the food that he created, as in, made, as in, the food that he baked, as in, the pastries that he made last time, you basically get it. After basically releasing them from their seals, he would basically walk around, basically talking to many people, mostly from different teams and also some upperclassmen, which were basically, excited finally meeting him. The so-called, three-eyed demon. Which, let's just say that epithet is starting to become a little bit, piss babyish to him. But either way, after, approaching, Team Civic, which their leader is Coco, and, the cute little rabbit faunus, aka, Velvet. Which, by the way, well, I think Velvet is my new favorite, is my new favorite, RWBY character. Because I literally have pet rabbits, or bunnies in this case. That's why I sort of liked her, because of those, cute ass bunny ears. So yeah, and don't even ask. I'm not a furry. I swear to God. If you say that in the comments, I swear to God. Oh, God damn it. Anyway, continuing on. And after, talking to them, and also Coco basically asked him if he's, single, or if he doesn't have a date for the, for the prom. Well, let's just say he has to break it to her that he's currently on, he currently has, someone to dance with, aka, Skylar Lark, which, broke her heart instantly. So, after, a bit of walking around and talking to many other people, like, for example, to Team, RWBY, and also Team, Juniper, which almost all of, like, Team Juniper, except for, Lyren, for obvious reasons, well, they sort of became jealous, including Team RWBY. Like, the entirety of Team RWBY were jealous of, like, Izuku now dating, Skyla. And so, after a bit of, like, talking, having fun, one of the upperclassmen would ask, Pyra to basically come out on stage and basically, give a speech to, to represent the, first years. And after a wonderful speech, they would start doing the party. And so everybody would start eating Izuku's pastries like sharks if they saw, like, a bleeding, animal. Yeah, don't even ask. Sharks are not actually bad. It's common knowledge now, sort of. And if you're asking how I know this, well, don't ask. Anyways, continuing on, after, having a bit of fun and also, going to, to outside, more specifically to a balcony where Izuku and, Skylark would make out. And if you're wondering, yes, sort of like, the rest of, like, Team Colorless, aka, Dove Broadwin, and also, Rust, yeah, Rachel Trust, I meant. Well, they were sort of, like, supportive towards them, even though they're sort of jealous. I mean, they sort of, like, trust them because, remember, Russell, or in this case, Rachel, and also, Dove, which the reason why it still, didn't change her name is because Dove, does sound like a feminine name to me now. And so, after, basically having a makeout session, and also, well, they sort of became supportive to them, mostly because, because they're sort of like friends, during the time when they're being abused by, by Mr. Asshole over there, aka Cardin. So yeah, anyway, continuing on. After a bit of a makeout session outside, where Izuku is basically having, a makeout session with, his date, aka his, new girlfriend, aka, well, second, aka Skylar Lark. But, unknown to them, one person was basically watching them, aka Coco. And let's just say Coco was pretty mad. And I almost forgot about that, I almost forgot about this part. Well, there was also, Velvet, which, by the way, Velvet, I decided to make a yandere. Yeah, that doesn't sound terrifying at all. Especially because I'm gonna be making a breeding season for them. Oh no. Anyway, continue on with the episode. So, after, having that makeout session, Izuku would basically, go back to the, with his, with, Skyla, After arriving back, they would see, the rest of like, like all of like team, Juniper basically having a dance party. Basically, they're, dancing, doing a dance number. As after seeing this, Izuku would get a memory of back when they were basically still in the village, more specifically with Nora and also, Lai, or Ren in this case. And after, a bit of that, memory came back to him, he would decide to do, a dance with, Skyla. And after a bit of like, doing like a flamenco dance, basically, and after finishing it with a almost like waltz type, finishing move, which, you can probably just like see it in the last video, because I'm not doing that because I'm too lazy for that. Anyway, continuing on. After, doing so, everybody would basically clap to them, and after doing so, everybody would basically start leaving the party because it was now finished. But Izuku would realize where was RWBY. And after talking to, Team RWBY about it, they would say that they're a bit, well, they would, already tell them that, is not Izuku, I meant, RWBY was actually going somewhere. Apparently it was something important. And after telling him this, Izuku would basically give them the cookies that was supposed to be for, well, for RWBY. And after saying goodbye to them, he would start leaving to go back to his dorm room. And after finally arriving back, Izuku would, fall asleep instantly with, the others. And so, that is where we sort of ended the episode. What do I mean by this? Well, we basically go into like a little like credit scene where we saw, Cinder fall talking to her mistress, which I didn't reveal yet. And, you probably already know at this point, by the way. So, yeah. So, after a bit of talking, she would basically, we sort of like pan out where we saw, well, the woman by the name of Mistress basically holding up a photo of Izuku and telling herself that she will become hers, aka Izuku, and even calling him her king. So yeah, so that is where we basically ended off the episode. And so, let us talk about what happens next, ladies and gents. So, we go at least like, 3, not really 3, but more like, 7 in the morning. As we currently see Izuku basically still sleeping. As while he was sleeping, he would start to feel something on his face. As he would start to wake up feeling something wet. As he would say this to himself. What the fuck is this? He would say. As after saying that in his mind, he would start, waking up from the licking. As you think, what the fuck? As he would open his eyes and would see a dog? Yeah, a freaking dog. It kind of resembles like a husky, like, corgi hybrid. As he would say this to himself. Why the hell is there a dog here? He would say. As the dog would bark at him, as he would wake up the others, as, Skylar would say this. What the hell is going on? She would say, as, Rachel would say this. What? A dog? Why is it doing here? She would say. As, Dove would say this. Wait, a dog? Wait, who opened the door? As she would notice that the door was open. In fact, it seemed to be a little bit scratched. As she would say this. Yeah, what the hell? She would say. As after saying that, she would... Actually, she doesn't open her eyes. Because remember, her design basically, doesn't really let her show her eyes. So, just imagine her a little bit agitated. Actually, I can't remember the name of that character from, like, from Bleach, but, he's the one that literally has the extendable sword. Which, by the way, is kind of a stupid Bankai. Like, seriously. Oh, yeah, my sword can literally just, like, extend it, like, a few feet. Yes, that definitely seems useful. I mean, you can basically just, like, do surprise attacks, I guess, if nobody knows about your Bankai. Or at least that Bankai in particular, but still. Like, how is that the freaking... we have, like, the sword that literally, like, can cut through anything. The other one that literally turns you into a freaking berserker. The other one that can basically burn you alive. And then we got the extendable sword. Oh, God. It's basically just like, yes, there are cool Bankai, but can they do this? Extends! Oh, God, I can just imagine that. Your sword is not big enough than mine. Just becomes longer. Anyway, continue on with the episode. So we go back to the dog, as the dog was still barking at him, as you would say this. As Izuku would just grab him by, by the scruff of his, not really scruff, but more like, to the collar, or at least grab him by the collar, as he would say this. Alright, whose dog is this, he would say, as he would slowly open his eyes, as he would look at the collar, as he would say the name of the dog. Apparently the name is Y, as he would say, wait, is that German, he would say to himself, as after saying that, he would say, hey, Dove, he would say, as Dove would say this, yeah, Izuku, she would say, as he would say this, whose dog is this, he would say, as she would say this, I don't freaking know, she would say, as, Russell would say this, I meant Rachel, me neither, she would say, as, he would start looking towards, Skyla, as Skyla would say this, me neither, I never really owned a dog. In fact, I mostly gotten cats, she would say, as he would say this. Then whose dog? As before he can say anything else, somebody would burst through the door, as this person was RWBY. As she would say, Zwei, come back here, she would say. As she would look, up towards, where the bunk bed of Izuku is, aka where he's sleeping. As after seeing him, she would start to blush, as she would say, she would start shaking a little bit, as he would say this. What? He would say, as you would notice that he's currently not wearing a shirt. Because at the time, he was a bit hot at the time, because of the AC, not really reaching towards his bed. Well, he had to take off his shirt to basically cool down. And, well, you see the situation right here. Many of the other girls would basically open their eyes, instantly seeing, he's, shirtless, as some of them would nosebleed, including, Skyla, as she would say, I never known my boyfriend was that hot under all of that clothes. I mean, under all of that, under all of that, clothing, she would say, as after saying that, Izuku would say this. Yeah, I should probably wear a shirt, he would say, as after saying that, wait for a second, god dang it, as, after, looking up, he would, not really looking up, but more like looking down, he would say, sorry, whose dog is this, he would say, as the dog would bark a little bit, as she would say this, oh, that's why, she would say, as she would start, looking away, basically just covering her eyes a little bit, but it's secretly peeking through her fingers, as she would say this, not she, I meant he who would say this, I see, he would say, as he would say this, here, he would say, as he would slowly come down from the ladder, as everybody's currently blushing even more, because he's currently wearing underwear. Oh god! And not only that, there's a pretty prominent bulge over there. And it's probably the size of a thermos. God dang it. Imagine about the size of an average thermos. Oh god. Yeah, just imagine if, his snake underneath about the size of a thermos, as he would say this. Here's your dog, he would say. As she would say this, she would basically, have this extreme blush, her entire face is turned into a tomato at this point. As, after, grabbing her dog, she would instantly run away, as he would say this. What the hell was that about, he would say. As, the rest of the other girls currently, are currently blushing instantly. As, Skylar would say this. I didn't know that my, boyfriend literally has that much of a package, she would say. Oh boy, let's just say she's not gonna have a lot of fun. Oh boy. As for, for, a certain little, Rachel, she would say, dang, I didn't know that was that big, she would say, as currently, Dove is currently, completely fainted, even though nobody knows that because she literally has closed eyes all the time. As he would say this. Good morning, guys, he would say. As, Skylar would say this. Oh, good morning, she would say, as she would stand up a little bit. Not really a little bit, more like instantly stand up as he would say this. I'm gonna be making breakfast for you guys. You can continue on sleeping, he would say. As after saying that, he would start leaving. So after leaving, all of them would just, still be, completely red. As, Skylar would say this. I didn't know that my boyfriend literally has that, like that monster over there, she would say. As all of them would agree. Sort of. I mean, currently Dove is currently just like, well, completely like, dead. Not really dead, but more like, fainted. As we go back to Izuku. Izuku is currently, fixing up breakfast for everybody. As after, finishing up, breakfast, which were just, but, just some pancakes, bacon, and also some eggs on the side, he would basically start eating as everybody else would also wake up instantly as, they would smell the food. After, eating breakfast with Izuku, he would start, changing his clothes. After wearing his beacon uniform, they would start leaving to go to the auditorium, which is apparently where they're supposed to go. After arriving at the auditorium, they would see, other students nearby. Some of the other students were from, Haven, and also some other, places, which I'm not going to mention because I'm too tired right now. uh, let's just say, it was a stressful day to say the least. Um, let's just say after hearing about there's supposed to be a clearance, but in actuality, there was not supposed to be a clearance. It was supposed to be for the others that didn't take the exam or the final exam in this case. Well, I almost had a freaking panic attack. I literally almost felt like my entire being was like floating up to heaven. Yeah. As, after arriving at, the auditorium, everybody would basically be seated, including the other students, as Izuku would walk over and would see, many, other students with different, different, kingdoms. Like, for example, some from, Haven to others being from, Atlas. As you notice, most of them basically looking at, Izuku. Yeah, most of them were targeting him because after seeing the video, well, they were instantly itching to have a fight with him. Even though they would probably be crushed just like Madara during the 4th grade Shinobi War. Oh boy. And, by the way, let's just say during my English class, right? When we're learning about, a certain type of, thing, I can't remember the actual, name of that, that certain, lesson, but there was actually a type of sentence or thing or whatever called declaration, and one of the questions that my teacher sent me for a test was Madara, as in Madara Uchiha from Naruto, declaring like the 4th grade Shinobi War, which I didn't know my teacher was a freaking weeb. I was just dumbstruck after seeing that. Like, seriously. I would just go like, huh? Huh? But at least I got something good on the test. Like, seriously. I didn't, I just, thought in my mind, is this a typo? Oh, God. That was an awesome, my English teacher is the best. Like, really the best, in my opinion. One of my favorites. Anyway, continuing on with the episode. Sorry about that. So, as everybody was seated, they were told that they're going to be having their first mission assignment, as Osmond would basically step in and would basically tell everybody a little story about the Great War, which Izuku would start to think, so is it basically just like World War II? Or at least like World War One, as, he would basically explain. Apparently, there was a big war which he sort of knows during his time in the, in the mountains, more specifically back... Wait for a second. More specifically, during the time of 80 years ago, or at least I think so. Apparently, this battle was between both, Haven and Atlas against, Vale and Vacuo, or at least I think that's the pronunciation of the name. Vacuo, whatever you want to call it at this point. Yeah, if you can tell me in the comments, just tell me in the comments. Anyway, continuing on, as during this Great War, it was a war of, of individuality, to art, to, to self-expression, they were basically gone. So, that is why everybody was given a name based off, colors. And this is actually a good example because the reason why I gone for Izuku because I actually, learned that, Izuku, or at least his full name, actually means green. Or at least I think so. If I'm wrong, just, tell me in the comments. And that is why I sort of like decided to make this a what if about Izuku being, in this world. And not Bell. Because Bell, I don't really like him basically being in another world. I mean, in another world. That's why I mostly let, Bell, basically go and stay in his own universe. While getting the powers of other universes, abilities, or for example, gaining OP powers, or for, you basically get it. While Izuku, well, the world of like quirks, well, let's just say I don't really like, the whole like quirk system. Mostly because like every time I think about it, quirks are basically just like, bullshit. Like if you basically have a sort of villainous quirk, well, you're basically fucked. If you have a weak quirk, you're fucked. And if you're, and if you don't have a quirk at all, if you're quirkless, you're double fucked. And if you have a superhero quirk, you're raised up, even though you do horrible, horrible, horrible things. Including Bakugo. Like, seriously, why didn't Bakugo go to jail or something of that sort? Like, seriously, all the bullshit that he did, including almost making Izuku basically commit suicide, it just pisses me off, to say the least. So, anyway, continuing on with the episode. As Osmond would basically, say that this, or more specifically, this specific part, and if we dare to ever do this again, history will just repeat itself, and suffering will forever be more, well, active, he would say, as after explaining everything to them about what happened the last 80 years during, like, the Great War, he would basically stop the speech and would tell everybody to basically pick their missions. So, as while Izuku's basically going with, with the rest of like Team Cardless, they would arrive at, the mission board, as he would start looking through all of the missions, as, he served the new leader. As after looking a while, one of them specifically, Rachel would say this. Oh, how about this one, she would say, as he would say this. Huh, a Far East one, he would say. As after saying that, one of them would say this. Why a Far East one? Sorry about that. Why a Far East one, said, well, Rachel, as, Rachel would say this. I just like it, she would say, as, Skylar would say this. I mean, that seems like a good idea, but still, as Dove would say this. And not really for me, as he would say this. I think it's better than nothing. I mean, it seems to be a pretty peaceful mission, to say the least, he would say. As one of them would say this. Ah, yes, peaceful. When it literally says, I don't know, search and destroy, she would say. As he would say this. Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but still, I mean, it's a better mission than anything else. I mean, most of them are either, like, boring or super dangerous, so I think this is the only option, he would say. As, one of them would say this, specifically Rachel. Yeah, I do have to agree with Izuku for now, she would say. As, Rachel would say this. Not Rachel, I meant, Skyla, as she would say this. I guess then, she would say with a little bit of a pout, but still. As, well, Dove would say this. Alright then, so who's the one that's going to be leading it, she would say. As he would say this. Well, apparently it's... Wait. The Professor Oobleck, he would say? As one of them would say this. Wait, Professor Oobleck? You mean that guy? Said, Rachel. As one of them would say this. Well, that was surprising, she would say. As he would say this. Yeah, no kidding, he would say. Said Izuku. As, one of them would say this. Yeah, that's, a bit interesting to say the least. As after saying this, they would decide to basically accept the mission. And after, accepting it, they would basically start leaving. As when they arrived at the, arrived back at their, dorm room, they would start packing up their things, specifically some clothes and others, some other materials. My voice. As after getting their, stuff from the, from their dorm room, they would start leaving to go to the bullheads. As while they're walking, they would notice, Team Civic. Or at least I think that's the actual name. I'm still not sure. If you want to, comment them down below what is the actual pronunciation of the name of their team, well, just comment down below, please. Because, I'm starting to think that it's probably a different pronunciation or something. But either way, they would basically meet up as one of them would say this. Oh, hey, Ezekiel, said one of them, specifically Coco, as he would say this. Oh, hello, Coco, he would say. So, how was the party last night, he would say, as she would say this. Wonderful, I guess, but she would start looking at Ezekiel with, apprehension a little bit. And as for, a pretty, well, let's just say flushed, not Violet. I meant, Velvet, as Velvet seemed to be looking at Izuku intently, which caused Izuku to, feel a little bit uncomfortable. As she would say this. Anyway, she would say, we're gonna be leaving to our mission. We're gonna be leaving for our mission, she would say. As he would say this. Oh, okay then. Then, good luck, he would say. As she would say this. We don't really need any luck, she would say. As we go, as we basically see Izuku basically leaving with the rest of his team. As while he was looking back, he would see a, somewhat, agitated, rabbit faunus over there, aka Velvet. As she seems to be, locking her legs together, seeming to be, wanting to pee? Or at least that's what he thinks. As, we go back to Izuku. As after, arriving at the bullhead where supposedly that their teacher, aka, Professor Oobleck is. As Professor Oobleck would basically appear, as Professor Oobleck would say this. Ah, you're finally here, kids, he would say, as he would say this. Specifically Izuku. So, we're supposed to be going on a search and destroy mission, right? He would say, as he would say this. Well, not technically, he would say, as he would say this. Specifically, Izuku. What is that supposed to mean, he would say. As, Sky would say this. Yeah, Dr. Oobleck, she would say, as he would say this. Ah, finally, at least somebody that at least calls me doctor, he would say, as he would say this. Specifically Izuku. Right. Anyway, what is this, search and destroy mission all about? I mean, it was pretty limited on the info. It mostly said that they're, supposed to be, a large, grim, nest nearby. And it's supposed to be in the northeast. As he would say this. Well, yeah, but we need to wait for, another team that's coming with me, he would say. As, he would say this. Wait, another team, he would say? As he would say this. Well, yes. You see, this mission is quite dangerous. But we also needed more huntsmen for this one. Because, I'm, looking for some, samples, he would say. As he would say this. Samples, he would say. As he would say this. Yes. Oh, there they are now, he would say. As, after looking back, Izuku would be wide-eyed and would see Team RWBY, he would say. As Team RWBY would arrive, as, RWBY would say this. Wait, Izuku? Team Colorless, what are you doing here, she would say. As he would say this. Well, we wanted to say that to you as well, he would say. As Blake would say this. Hello, Izuku, she would say. As Izuku would say this. Oh, hi, Blake. As, before he can say anything else, she seems to be having the same problem as, or at least the same looking problem as, Velvet. As he would notice her, having this almost like, she seems to be drenched, and I mean drenched in sweat. As, Izuku would say this. Is Blake okay over there, he would say. As Weiss would say this. Well, we don't really know all that much, but, it seems that she seems to have, some sort of, like, I don't know at this point, she would say. As, for, what is her freaking name? God dang it. As we see Yang. As Yang seems to be just like, saying this, or at least say this. I don't really know at this point as well. I think she probably has a fever or something, but when we checked her temperature, well, I mean, she was hot, but not that hot to become, a little bit, not really hot to basically, be thought of as like a fever victim, she would say. As, after saying that, Oobleck would say this. But either way, he would say, come on, kids, let's go, he would say. As after saying that, he would start walking towards the, bullhead as he would start going on the, on the, on the passenger seat on the front. And as for the rest of them, they would start moving towards the passenger seats on the back. And so Izuku decided to, sit with his, lovely girlfriend over there, aka Skyla. After sitting down, the rest of like Team Ruby were basically glaring at, basically like glaring at Skyla. Mostly because they basically stole their old teammate. Well, well, for Blake, she's currently, oh boy, let's just say, having these, heart eyes for some odd reason, which Izuku just, you know, not really ignored, but doesn't really notice. Which, well, is certainly going to be his downfall, let's just say that. And so, we go back to, Dr. Oobleck, as he would basically tell everybody about what they're going to be doing. So, while they're basically like, basically doing all of that, we go to, a little bit later. As they finally arrived at the, what is that place again? Southeast or southwest? As after they arrived, they would land in a abandoned, a really abandoned city, as Easy could say this. Huh, what happened here, he would say. As, Dr. Oobleck would say this. Well, my boy, as the bullhead would basically, fly off, as he would say this. Well, you see, this place was actually run amok by some, well, Grim, he would say. As he would say this. Oh, I see, he would say. As he would say this. Don't worry, all of the survivors here were basically saved. And, but before he can actually say anything else, the bag would, or at least the bag that was being worn by, Ruby would start to shake a little bit. As it would shake more and more, as you would start to hear barking, as he would look over and would say, wait, why is her back? But before he could say anything else, a black and white blur would jump towards Izuku, as he would say, what in the? As he would, be pumped to the ground, as he would say, what in the hell is this? He would say, as he would see Zwei again, as Zwei was basically licking his face, as he would say, get off me, he would say, as after saying that, Dr. Ubik would say this, what the? Whose dog is this, he would say, as, Ruby would start to shy a little, start to act shy a little bit, as she would say this, that's my dog, she would say, as, after saying that, Ubik would sort of have this disappointed face, but would instantly switch, as he would say, ah, that's wonderful, he would say, as everybody would just be confused, as he would say, huh? As he would say this, well, I've been looking to try and find, like, an animal to basically study, and I think Zwei over here is going to be a great help. Not only that, he can certainly be a help here in this, in this field trip, he would say, as he would say this. You mean this assignment, he would say, as, after saying that, he would say this. Expedition assignment, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's go, make a camp nearby, he would say. As he would say this, say this specifically, Izuku. Then get this dog off me, he would say. As, Ruby would say this. Yeah, don't worry, I'll help you out with that. And after getting, Zwei off his face, he would start leaving with the rest of the others. And so they would find a nearby abandoned building, or more specifically an apartment complex, as Izuku would decide to sleep on the nearby beds, as he would basically clear it out of, nearby nearby Grim, I meant. But thankfully, some Grims were not there at all. And so he would decide to go for, one of the beds nearby, more specifically a king-size bed, which, can hold about, at least, a few people, which decides to let, which he decided to let, well, his lovely girlfriend now, aka, Skylar basically stay with him for now. And as for the others, they would decide to sleep on the floor nearby with Izuku. As, he would say this. Now, I wanted to ask all of you this, as everybody would perk up, as he would say this. I wanted to ask, what is your motivation for basically becoming a huntsman slash hunter, he would say. Or at least, a hunter and slash huntress in your cases, he would say. As Izuku would sweat drop, as everybody would basically say their, their own, interpretations. Like, for example, Blake wants to at least, find a way to basically, atone for, her, friend's sins, aka by the name of Adam something. He doesn't really remember. And the other was, Weiss, which she would explain that she wants to find a way to basically atone for her, father's sins. Or more specifically, the mistakes that her father made during her lifetime, mostly towards her fondnesses. And as for, Yang, she wants to have an adventurous lifestyle, basically having a bit of fun and causing a little bit of chaos. And as for Ruby, well, she doesn't know. The others would have simple answers, like for example, Skylar for money, for her parents, which was surprising to him. For, you know, Rachel, well, she wanted to, at least, have a bit of fun. And also meet new people. And as for, Dove, she wants to, explore the place, basically, exploring different lands and also discovering new, places. And it would finally land on Izuku, as he would say this. Well, my first purpose of becoming a huntsman was actually traveling the world, seeing new people, and learning about their cultures and their beliefs. That is, after all, a monk of, wait for a second, a priest of Om would do, he would say. Or at least, a soon-to-be priest of Om, he would say, as he would say this. That's quite an answer, as he would say this, but that's not all, he would say. As after saying that, he would say this. As after saying that, he would say this. Well, I want to protect everybody from the Grim, no matter what. I would even sacrifice myself for others, he would say. As after saying that, everybody would start looking at him, as he would say this. Well, after my village was destroyed, and after my friends were supposedly killed and destroyed by the Grim in my hometown, where it was ransacked and destroyed, I basically fell into depression. And I wanted to save everybody from the Grim. Actually, that sounds like a stupid idea. But still, I'll do my best, he would say. As after saying that, everybody was basically, dumbstruck. And some of them would start crying, like for example, Ruby and also, Weiss. And as for, Professor, Oobleck, he would say this. That's quite the answer, he would say. Well then, I want all of you guys to get some sleep. After all, tomorrow's gonna be a big day, he would say. As after saying that, he would tell Ruby to basically act as lookout. And so, after doing so, everybody would instantly fall asleep. So yeah, I'm probably gonna be ending this episode right off here, because, at least everybody's basically now sleeping. So yeah, and before before all of you guys leave, well, I wanted to ask. Well, I've been, getting ideas for this, what if about, about Azure Lane, where Izuku is probably gonna be in this universe. Well, I sort of gotten a little bit of ideas. One of them is, Izuku being an experiment. More specifically, a sort of how do I see this? Well, the basics are this. The basics are this. Izuku is basically an experimental ship girl, or in this case boy, basically having the ability to basically copy and replicate different types of weaponry. Like for example, from the Iron Bloods with their, ringings. Or at least I think that's the pronunciation of, those ship parts. Or for another example, the weaponry of the, Sakura Empire? Actually, let me check if that's the actual name. Yeah, Sakura Empire and their, swords, things of that sort. Or for another example, the Royal Navy, aka, the British. The British faction. And their, penchant for guns. Sort of. And their, other types of abilities. So yeah, he's basically the equivalent of those, that certain genre of of overpowered character where they're able to copy the abilities of others. That's basically what he's able to do. And even combined aspects of them. Like for example, combining the shark, the metallic shark things from, from the Iron Blood, from the Iron Bloods, and basically combining it with, the Royal Navy's, aircraft thing, and basically creating, I don't know, flying freaking sharks, and that literally tear through anybody and shit them. And the other idea being that Izuku has the abilities of, a modern day, warship instead of like everybody else basically, being based off like, World War II to World War One. I think, battleships. And for Izuku basically being like a commander. Or I could do both. Basically combining both of those ideas. So yeah. So if you want me to do that, then just comment down below. It's either aka the experimentally like ship boy slash girl, basically being able to basically copy any type of abilities from any faction. The other being that he's basically a ship boy slash girl, or in this case just a boy in this case because I'm either going to be basing him off a trap. Maybe that's a maybe. um, Making him maybe a trap in that one where he's basically a commander able to command ship girls, but not only that, having the ability to use the powers of like or at least the battleship powers of a modern day a modern day like warship or battleship or whatever you want to call it. Or the third option being both, basically combining two of the aspects, like for example well, basically allowing him to basically command you know, you know, battleship girls or ship girls, and also having the ability to copy them and basically joining into the fight. So yeah, if you want to do that, then the answer is A for the you know the first one, the second one being B, and the third one being C. Then just comment down below there for A, B, or C. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so I hope you liked the video. Comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.